Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel, everybody. Guys, today we're going to be talking to you about a huge dividend stock yielding 4% with a 14.5% 5-year dividend growth rate that had a little came down a little bit after earnings. So we can't wait to see what happened in this company's earnings release, and is this company a screaming stock to buy right now after earnings?
Smash that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up, guys. We're talking about one of the biggest pharmaceuticals right now, a favorite amongst dividend investors and the investing community who are striving to reach financial freedom by way of building a steadily growing dividend income stream. Bert, man, what a hot stock right now to talk about.
Yeah, and this one's going to be interesting because we both own this company. We both have pretty decently sized positions in this company. And it's, to your point, it's the one that the community always talks about. It's one of the community's favorites. Whenever we put out tweets asking you what are one of some of your largest holdings in your position, a lot of people respond with this company. So we're pumped up to talk to them and look at the earnings right now.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true, Bert. So why don't you rip the Band-Aid? Who released earnings and what stock is this?
A, B, B, V. We're talking AbbVie, ticker symbol ABBV. Man, oh man, they have been making some moves. Again, they've increased that dividend every year since their spinoff from Abbott. So on a technical basis, they are a dividend aristocrat. It just doesn't show it with the individual company that spun off. Every year, what, it's been 9, 10 years since the spinoff, and they were increasing it for a long time before. So we're technically talking about an aristocrat today. So what happened? They just released earnings and they were down, I think it was 6% after earnings. They're down almost 7% year to date. AbbVie has always had one thing. The one thing that's been the $1 million question with this company, Lanny. What is going to happen when their patent cliff arrives with Humira? That has always been the $1 million question for AbbVie. And that's also what kind of got them into trouble after this earnings release.
Well, that has been the $1 million question, and I think we're about to get a million or $1 billion answer.
We are, because that patent cliff is expiring here in the United States soon. So they're about to start getting generics there. And they've taken steps through acquisition, through development of new drugs over the years to diversify away from Humira. They recognize that they've taken moves. That's why the stock price jumped up so much over the last few years. You thought that they were getting their feet under them and they were making the moves. But as we go through it, that's what spooked everybody as they went through the earnings release. So just to discuss it at a high level, their overall sales were 12.2 billion. They were down nearly 10% from 13.5 last year. GAAP EPS is always noisy for the company. They always have their GAAP EPS and they have their adjusted EPS. GAAP EPS was down significantly, down $13 per share. But when you take out some of their amortization, you take off some impairments, some changes to fair value estimates on their adjusted EPS was $2.46 per share. So a little bit more in line. There's just a lot of noise going on. Those pesky accountants and their GAAP accounting, always wreaking havoc on the bottom line. So it was interesting. Very, very interesting. When you look into detail more, though, that's where the big issues happen. I'm going to spotch these. The problem wasn't that they got strong growth from their new drugs, Skyrizi and Rinvoq. Those are the big ones that are coming down the pipeline. I didn't know much about them outside of this. Their revenue grew 45% year over year and 48% year over year for those two drugs. The problem was it didn't grow as much as they expected, and they might not be able to fill the hole that's about to come with Humira the exact same way that they had expected. That is the core issue that AbbVie is facing right now. Their big replacements for them, they let the free agent go. The new people they signed just aren't getting the same points per game that Humira is filling, and that's the core of the AbbVie problem right now.
Yeah, I mean, despite the big growth, and I think it's going to continue to grow like that for those two, pharmaceutical brands. But I think then the stock price really took an impact from the guidance, the outlook, what management says, and now they've revised their outlook for adjusted EPS downward. Anytime you adjust downward, stock prices probably will fall.
Yes, and that's what it was. It wasn't a large. It was analysts were expecting 11.14. Now they're expecting 10.72 to 11.12. So it could be close. It could not be. But again, you're banking on high revenue growth projections from new drugs to overtake your best your bestseller and what's about to come on the back end when the generics come after you. That's all that is such a fascinating it's such a fascinating issue for this sector, and it's very unique to it, right? To
Yeah.
these types of companies.
Yeah, so market did not react favorably, guys. They're now trading at $151.12 for ABBV. Again, this last week they're down about 7% here, ending April 28th, down over $11 a share, which is pretty amazing because if you rewind, you might have been able to grab AbbVie well below $100, maybe below $75 from the pandemic. So if you did buy there, you probably are sitting very nicely with your ABBV position. But Bert, we had to look at them through the DD stock screener, which looks at the PE, the payout ratio, dividend growth, and then last but not least, and as a bonus, dividend yield. So what does ABBV look like with this now revised earnings per share range? Because I think the analysts have already baked it in to be somewhere in the middle already.
Yeah, their price is 151.12. Average EPS is 10.97, almost right in the middle of that new range. So you have PE ratio of 13.78. So a nice discount compared to the market, which is usually in the high teens, low 20s, especially right now. Their annual payout ratio, dividends 592 annually. Their payout ratio is 53.97%. So right smack dab in the middle of that perfect payout ratio range.
Yeah, that payout ratio seems to be getting higher almost each and every time we look at ABBV. So it's a great segue into dividend growth because though they've increased their dividend, year after year and at a high rate, I would not expect that to to happen going forward. Again, over 14% on average dividend growth rate. If you just rewind the tape, their last increase was 7 cents on $1.41, which was a cold 5%. So guys, I would expect somewhere in that 3 to 5% range going forward, especially as they figure out who is going to be their home run drug.
Yeah, and their yield right now is just under 4%, at 3.92%. So the metrics don't look bad, they don't look great, but I think you brought up an excellent point with that forward dividend growth, and it's almost like with AbbVie, I don't know, like this is just kind of my gut reaction on it. Is it like this cash issue that's going to continue to do it? So you're losing all of these sales on the top line, right, from Humira going down, and you've invested so much money into R&D, so much money into these drugs. If the replacements don't quite meet up to that expectation and you're still going to have this cash shortfall, you need to invest even more money into it to kind of find your next home run. So you need to start over or you need to acquire somebody with all of that cash. So you're right. That's why the dividend could be low. The dividend growth could be lower. You need that cash to find that revenue replacement in this sector. And it's just so fascinating to me as you see this happening because they've been trying to avoid this for so long.
Yeah, it's been the cloud over ABBV ever since they spun off, and here we are almost 10 years later or 10 years later, and it's kind of come to fruition here in the United States. So, guys, what do you guys think? What do you think of AbbVie? Do you think they're in a heap of trouble with the generics coming into play? Do you think that their new drugs that they've put out there, again, big growth rates? I think Bert mentioned 45% and 48% respectively on the two new brands that he mentioned. Again, Skyrizi and Rinvoq. Correct us in the comments as well. But
Are
what do
we
you
talking
think?
about Pokemon or are we talking about about drugs that have the
WWE wrestlers?
yeah, so let us know too. I mean, for me, I'm not buying any more AbbVie even though the price came down. I think I'm one of those people that had it from early on, so I have a nice large gain in there. I think still not at the levels where I'm looking at AbbVie where I'm just going to be running buying. I'll just be watching, and if it comes down more, maybe it's a good nibble one or two here or there, just not for me right now. What about you?
Yeah, likewise. I've got AbbVie, I've got Glasgow, I got Pfizer, J&J will soon be just a pharmaceutical as well.
It's true.
Viatris. I mean, I think I'm
Cool.
loaded with healthcare right now.
Yes, I agree. So again, like Landy said, let us know what you think, everybody. What are you doing? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. Give this video a big old-fashioned thumbs up. And just remember, if you're not with the diplomats, you're against us.
That was Bert and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.